In the year 1208, the skies over Daiviet seemed draped in a heavy shroud of gray clouds. From the distant north, the thundering hooves of the Mongol cavalry rolled forth like a raging tide, sweeping down toward the south, carrying with them the breath of storms and the stench of blood and death. They were not merely an army, but a living nightmare that had sown terror across Asia and Europe, turning even the most towering citadels into ashes, forcing mighty empires to bow in submission. That empire, so vast that people would say, "Where their horses tread, the grass does not grow back," stretched from the shores of Japan to the steppes of the Huns, from the deserts of West Asia to the icy reaches of Siberia. Elite cavalry, archers who never missed, tactics as fluid as shadows, these were the horrors that made the world tremble at the name of the Mongols. Yet before that surging wave, Daiviet, a small country on the shores of the East Sea with towering mountains and winding rivers, did not bow. From the crimson flags of the Thunglong royal court to the remote villages along the frontier, a fire of resolve to die for the homeland blazed fiercely. The people knew that if they yielded even once, their beloved land would sink into eternal darkness, and generations to come would live in chains. The Mongol envoys came bearing demands, insisting that Daiviet submit as a vassal state. The Trun court, under the leadership of Emperor Trun Taitung, stood unshaken. Each word spoken in the Thianan Hall rang like a hammer on iron. Better to die with honor than live in disgrace. From the iron-willed Trun Thudo to the brave generals, all voiced one resolve: to fight until the last breath. The Mongol forces swept into the borderlands like a knife through bamboo, but were met with a cunning and treacherous battlefield. The Trun dynasty carried out a strategic withdrawal, implementing the scorched earth policy, abandoning villages, burning all supplies, destroying bridges and roads, so that the invaders, though they gained territory, found nothing but ash and emptiness. Golden fields of ripened rice became seas of fire, granaries turned to smoldering ruins, leaving the enemy only with hunger and exhaustion. The people of Daiviet, from humble farmers to frontier militia, entered the war with no modern weapons, but with hearts forged in steel. They did not scatter in panic. They withdrew quietly under royal command, taking their children and livestock, ready to burn their own homes so the enemy could not shelter there. These were men and women who would rather sacrifice all than give the invaders a single grain of rice or drop of water. The Trun soldiers, though far fewer than the Mongols, carried within them the strength of millennia-old tradition. On the eve of battle, under the flickering firelight, their eyes burned with resolve, hands gripped their sword hilts tight, and the cry of "Kill the Tatars" thundered like rolling storms. From the Red River Delta to the northern forests, this spirit spread, a tidal wave that washed away all fear. When Emperor Trun Taitung and Crown Prince Trun Huang personally took to the battlefield, the sight of the two, one the reigning ruler, the other the future sovereign, mounted on war horses, armor gleaming under the sun, eyes bright as stars, ignited the troops' spirits. This was not merely an order from the throne, but a shared vow of life and death between ruler and people. The Battle of Dongbodo became the resounding climax of this epic. After days of luring the enemy deep into the heartland, the Daiviet forces struck like thunder. The Navy, masters of every current and tide, unleashed their full might upon the Mongol fleet. Small warships darted like arrows into enemy ranks, archers on deck raining down arrows like a storm. The cries of "Kill the Tatars" mingled with the crash of waves against the hulls, echoing along the river. The Mongols, once proud as an undefeated force, were now battered and broken, both starving and in disarray. Their invincible cavalry was powerless in the water. Groups of men tumbled into the icy river, sign, their screams swallowed by the current, never to rise again. When the shattered Mongol forces fled Daiviet's soil, the capital of Thunglong and the countryside alike rang with drums, gongs, and shouts of joy. People embraced in the streets, tears mingling with victorious smiles. The soldiers returned, bearing the dust of the road and the stains of battle, welcomed as sons who had kept their vow to the motherland. The first resistance against the Mongols was not merely a military triumph. It was irrefutable proof that the power of patriotism and unity could halt even the mightiest empire of the age. Daiviet had defended not only its land, but its honor, its pride, and the spirit of an entire people. The heroic spirit of 1208 still echoes in the pages of history, an eternal flame lighting the path for future generations. It reminds all descendants that when the fatherland is in peril, every Vietnamese heart will beat as one. The heartbeat of those willing to sacrifice everything to protect their sacred homeland.